Been a while since I booted this one up. Today we're going to be playing Asteroids, because I need a little bit something to, I don't know, talk about. So considering this is my own personal, quote-unquote, copy of the Atari Vault, these are all my high scores, because I'm going to let you in on a little hint. Asteroids is quite possibly one of my favorite arcade games of all time. Joust is still number one, but, this is probably one that I would go to in a heartbeat. So, the game couldn't be simpler. You're in space, and there are asteroids, you shoot them, and they break into smaller asteroids. And there's a lot of pew 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 pew. Occasionally a UFO will appear and kill you. It also stole the soundtrack from Space Invaders. There's also a button you can press that will teleport you randomly, and by randomly I mean in the vicinity of an oncoming asteroid. It's been a while since I played this, so I'm probably not gonna beat my old high score of 28,000 points. You get a new extra life every 10,000 points, which is my goal for today. The Atari Vault has an achievement to kill 10 of the UFOs on one life. I haven't done that, but I couldn't imagine it's very difficult, even though the UFOs are the most annoying part of the game. Because all you need to do is stay on one level, because it's not based on points or anything that makes the UFOs appear. It's based on time. So if you don't want to see the UFOs coming, just get to the next level quickly. But yeah, it's very similar to Space Invaders, but not in a Galaga kind of way. It's got the same ideas, I guess, just in a completely different and unique way. Also, it uses vector graphics. It wasn't the first game to use vector graphics. Lunar Lander came before this. It was just the first good game to use vector graphics. Lunar Lander is also in the book, and I'm not going to have fun with it. I'm going to tell you that right now. But let's see. John, Ked, John, AOL, Gur, John, Pal, Ba, and Hi. So why apparently is this game in the book? I mean, why does the book make the case for Asteroids? Well, the most important thing about Asteroids, the thing you need to know about it, is that in this game, you don't play Master Chief, you play as the letter A. This is why they consider it a must-play. Or at the very least, that's the case that they make in the entry. It's almost like somebody picked the games and then just told somebody else to write random bullshit about the game. I mean, it's not like this popularized vector graphics-based games and gave an Atari another mega hit that helped it compete with Space Invaders at the time. I mean, it's not that it's insanely fun, even if you keep dying. Also, the game doesn't spawn you if you're going to get hit, so when there's a huge asteroid field like this, it could take a while for you to spawn. And yeah, I did a teleport. Might take me a while to get to that. So yeah, the one thing about the game I don't like is, besides the UFOs, is the soundtrack. Usually when I am playing this game, I actually listen to the Space Invaders song, because maximum irony, why not? Actually, I think this is one of the few arcade games that Buckner and Garcia did not make a song for. Because they made a song about just about everything else. It is just the most baffling thing in history. So I need to play a game that's really enjoyable right now, because I just finished playing Rakuin for the first time. I think I mentioned this in a previous episode. And Rakuin is an amazing game, but it's amazingly sad. If you're wondering, it's definitely a game that I consider a must-play. It was made by Laura Shigihara, which I'll probably talk about at some other point. So the strategy for Asteroids, to get really high, you want to focus fire. Don't create too much space junk, or you're going to create hell for yourself. Now, there are definitely a lot of games that have taken over the Asteroids formula, and there are probably some that have done it better than this, but I don't think it gets more classic than this, you know? This is probably a game that's in my top 100 favorite video games of all time, and it's probably the oldest game that is there. I mean, as much as I respect Pong, it's not something I'm going to play, unless I'm trying to do something like this. Adventure is something else I also respect. Same with Space Invaders. Like, Space Invaders is one of the most important video games of all time. But Space Invaders is not something that I play. But Asteroids, no. Even the fucking... We're what, 40 years later? Getting there? Yeah, I'd still play this. This is the game pretty much why I bought the Atari Vault. This and Missile Command. Missile Command is also really fun. I like this one more because Missile Command games tend to be really, really short. Like, I don't think I've had a game that lasted more than 5 minutes. And that's exceptionally long with Missile Command. This game, you can keep going. Like, I don't think there's one of those arbitrary points where the game decides, no, you're done. Come back later or pay us more shit like Moon Patrol did. Although, like, the soundtrack or the quote-unquote music of the game is pretty much exactly like Space Invaders for some reason. Maybe they modified the arcade board? I don't know. I'm on my last life, and we are so close to hitting the arbitrary point that I have set out for myself, and that UFO is going to... Oh, yes! That beeping means that I've done it! I can stop playing at any time, but don't worry, I'm not going to. I just want to enjoy my time, you know? And another field. I do believe the asteroids continually move faster. And we go boom. Oh, that's right, I got an extra life. Derp-de-derp-de-doo. If you're wondering why I'm playing so many arcade games, I am doing other games in the background. It's just arcade games are quick, you know? I can play an arcade game and something a lot larger at the same time. You just get the arcade game and stuff coming first. I mean, a lot of the 80s games are going to be quick. Like, or they're going to be annoyingly cryptic and take fucking forever. I'm going to be honest, there are quite a few 80s games that I am not looking forward to at all. Like Dragon's Lair. Great animation, not so great as a video game. And there's Ghosts and Goblins, which does have an endpoint, and I'm probably going to have to beat it twice. Luckily, I have the arcade version, which I believe is better than the NES version, at least even in mechanics. At the very least, it's not ugly like the NES version. And I stand by that. The original Ghosts and Goblins on the NES, it looks ugly. The arcade version looks really good, though. Oh, hey. See, I forgot we're on a Steam game, so we're gonna figure out what other people are playing. But yeah, I played Rakuen today, and it was... it's probably in the top 10, you know? It is that good. You want to know what the game is about? Or if I could describe it? Imagine if To the Moon was a video game. I guess I'm being funny, but not really. Like, the worst part of To the Moon and Finding Paradise, that series of games, is when it throws in your face that it is a video game. Like, the original To the Moon tells a really amazing story, but the worst part about it is when it just throws in obstacles, or you have to find random things, and it just slows the story down, but it's because it's a video game, and you gotta do video game stuff. Rakuin balances that out much better. The gameplay and story balance is so much better. You know, it's not perfect. If you're not good at puzzles, you're going to get stuck. Like, I won't say I didn't use a guide at all during the thing. But I didn't have to use one often, and it was just for a quick little direction. Let's see. I've done a good deal of the 70s games so far, I think. There are 10 of them in the book. This is 4, I think. Number 4. Yeah. Also, another game that I really like on the Atari Vault is Tempest. Honestly, I prefer it over Atari's new release. It's weird to me that Atari's back in the vault, or back in the game, so to speak, but recently they have released Tempest 4000. As I guess a sequel to Tempest and Tempest 2000, or was it Tempest 3000 that there's a new game? There's basically a new Tempest that was released earlier this year. It's okay. I don't know, for some reason I prefer the original one, and I haven't played Tempest 2000, but I don't think it beats that one. But yeah, I guess we can talk about that. Atari is back in the game. I think they crowdfunded an Atari Classic console, and it should be interesting to see what they're going to create. Right now, they're basically doing a bunch of nostalgia pandering and making games based on their current IPs and making some retro throwbacks. Hopefully we're going to get something new by them, because you can't really do that forever. I mean, Atari made a lot. Like, so many different games, so many different classics. But the games are really simplistic. Like, these things, you put them on compilations nowadays. You don't just release Asteroids on its own. Although, there are versions of this on your own. Like, the version of Asteroids I think you should be playing is not the Atari Vault one, but the XBLA version. Because I have to play this one with a keyboard and arrow keys, and while that's more accurate to the original, this game begs to be played with a controller. It really does. But yeah, sooner or later, Atari is going to need to make original games. And I don't mean like sequel to Tempest or that kind of original, because the kind of games that Atari is famous for, they don't work as standalone nowadays. They're too simple, unless you make them on the phone. I mean, I guess they could make pretty good phone games, but I don't think that's what anybody wants from Atari. It's the small aliens that really get you. So I guess this is the kind of game where I talk about other things, because I did say that every classic arcade game does have a story in the Miss Pac-Man episode, and that is true. A lot of them do. This one story is just not as expansive, I guess. I mean, either that or I just don't really know the story. Maybe it was a bit of dramatic effect. I don't know. Here's the story about Asteroids. Asteroids is fun. It's definitely a yes. Like, I really think this is a must-play. Like, it holds up perfectly. Even Space Invaders is kind of slow by today's standards, but Asteroids, it's so intuitive. It's just simple and fun, and it's completely in black and white too. I mean, like, it's so simple that even today, like, 7-year-olds can program this. I'm not even kidding. Making clones of asteroids is something that I believe is taught in, like, game-making classes. And I've got a few Asteroids-like clones sitting in my Steam library. Bit Blaster XL is one that I haven't played in a while, but I remember that being fun. A little bit more intense than the original. And I think that is definitely an issue with a lot of the clones. They get a little bit carried away. Also, this has been ported to numerous systems, like I already mentioned the XBLA. But in my opinion, I think you gotta go with one that has vector graphics. Something that can replicate that. I don't know, it just doesn't feel right if it's pixels. Which is why I'm not really too fond of the Atari 2600 version or the Game Boy Advanced version. But yeah, we have vector graphics now. So we've evolved from dots to lines. And of course, a clone of Asteroids was basically the title that came with the Vectrex, which is the video game console that came with its own TV. It's basically having an arcade cabinet in your home. I've scoured the Vectrex library for this particular reason, because you might not know this, but the Vectrex library, everything is basically in public domain. You could find, like, you can go and find copies of all the games online without any issue. And I played a few of them. One of the, like, I don't know if any of them would be considered must-plays, because a lot of them are very simple or clones of other games. Like, a lot of them are just shooters. But it had a platformer called Spike, which is really interesting. Another one is the Fortress of Nisbrod, something like that, Fortress of something. Where you shot, it was kind of like Galaga, kind of like Space Invaders, except when you shot up, it shot at angles and it bounced off the walls, and it was kind of a unique spin on it. I'm not sure if I'd consider those must-plays, but I think they'd be in the running if you want to have a Vectrex representative. And no, I don't think every single console ever needs to have a game on a game that I consider a must-play. I mean, it's nice to remember our history, but I don't think anybody is going to want to be forced to play a game from the Gizmodo. Or the Amiga CD32. But I mean, if a bad console has a good game like Virtual Boy Wario Land, sure, why not? Consider that a must-play. I do wish that the book did go into more weird experiments like that. Because there are some things you must see. I mean, it's not that the book doesn't have any of them, and the ones that they do have, it's going to make it very, very difficult for me to figure out how to do an episode. There's one thing in particular that's I have no idea how the hell I'm going to do it. It's called G-Lock something, but a specific version of it, G-Lock 360 version. Not for the Xbox 360, it's an arcade game. But it's a flight simulator, and here's the gimmick of it. It basically has the ability to turn you upside down. It's basically an amusement park ride, where you play it, and it will turn you upside down if you go upside down in the game. It sounds awesome, something that I would definitely consider a must-play, but I don't know how I'm gonna do it for this series. I don't even know where you find one of those machines. Some of the arcade stuff is going to be very difficult to come across. Like, really difficult. Also, yes, if you're not careful, you can end up shooting yourself in this game. And you keep your momentum. Ah! Sometimes it actually helps to just stay in one place. That's what I call a good strategy. It's what I tend to do in Geometry Wars too, which is another game that seems to be very inspired by the Asteroids formula. Like, so many games, like, this isn't just the invention of a game, it's the invention of an entire formula, which is awesome. And it still holds true. Pew 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 pew. And yes, this game, I suppose, is brought to you by the letter A. I love Asteroids. Like, it's a game I could play any day for hours on end. I know it sounds simple, but it's just a game I love, trying to get the highest score. I mean, I'm never gonna have the record. Like, absolutely never gonna have the record. It's in the millions. But honestly, like, the game never ramps up to a point where I feel like that just wouldn't be possible for me to ever achieve it. It's just more of a matter of endurance, I guess. How well you're good at dodging space rocks. And games don't need stories or music or even color if their gameplay is just good. And this is pure fun in video game form. So what if it's not as important as Space Invaders? It's more fun. It's like taking everything Space Invaders did and just improving on it so much. Like, I have no idea when I'm gonna stop, because, like, I already got what I needed. I guess maybe that's a good sign to just end it. Asteroids. Yes. Absolutely. It's awesome.